I am officially a HYROX finisher. I finished the HYROX Brisbane events on, well, now, yesterday, Saturday, the 1st of March. And it's my first time ever participating in a HYROX. Oh, it's very windy. Very, very windy today. I'm recording this the day after HYROX Brisbane. This video is basically just documenting my thoughts about it, leading up to the event, what it was like, doing the actual event, and then again, what my learnings have been so far. So for context, I am quite an amateur athlete, if I say so myself. I have been doing gym for a long time. I've been going to group fitness classes for a couple years, but this HYROX, I only signed up for it in the middle of January with a couple of other friends of mine. And basically we had just over a month of actual training for this event, which is highly not recommended, but anyway, we got there in the end. A group of 4 of us, we wanted to try and tackle it as 2 doubles, but by the time we signed up for the event, the doubles had sold out. So we all had to then commit to doing solos. And that's what we ended up doing. For even more context, on January 1st of this year, I went for a Zone 2 training run with my brother Josh, who was one of the guys that I did the event with yesterday. And he said it was a Zone 2 training run. My Apple Watch told me that I was running at maximum Zone 5 the entire time. That is the level of fitness that I started off 2025 with. So needless to say, I knew it was going to be a challenge to do this event, but it was really nice to actually start to train towards something. Really enjoyed getting to the point where we actually did the event yesterday. So my prep for the event, again, was super short. Had ultimately about 4 or 5 weeks. Each one of our group of 4 had a different approach to how we were training for the event. I found Blair Sangster's channel on YouTube, and I found that he had a 10-week HYROX program. So I very quickly made myself a Notion document and started committing to doing that, which was ultimately a 6-day-a-week program. All in all, didn't have the best amount of time to do a full training cycle. You know, that program was a 10-week one, and I basically had 4 or 5 weeks to do it. And that was our prep. On the day, yesterday, all 4 of us happened to be in the 5 o'clock wave, which was really cool. So we all had the same start time, which was also nice for our friends and family who came to spectate. And yeah, the vibe in the exhibition center, as soon as we came inside, it was a vibe. It was a vibe straight away. There was lines, figuring out where to queue and everything. And we ended up queuing in the wrong line to get ourselves signed in, but we made it there. And then we got our spectators all signed in too. And then we spent the first hour, because we probably finished that process about 3:15. So we spent the next 45 minutes, hour, watching some of the other races that were going on and navigating physically through the event. Started warming up about 45 minutes before our race, and then it was on at 5 p.m. I was very surprised with how I performed. I did finish. I did finish the solo event, and all of us did. We all had varying experiences with it. I had set a very stretch goal of a 90-minute HYROX. I did not quite get there. I finished in 1 hour 46, but I had a lot of learnings. I was very surprised with how my body went in the first half of the HYROX. I surprised myself with how I felt, especially during the runs, because again, coming from someone who had only just started running again officially 6 weeks before this event, to being able to get to that point where I was running consistently at the HYROX, I felt like I managed my pace really well. I actually have my stats here, which I'll refer to as I talk through, with my splits for what my timings were. And you know, my first couple runs, my first 5 runs ultimately were about that same pace. I held somewhere between about 6.5 minutes to 6 minutes 45 kilometer pace for the first 5 runs. And I actually, every time I lapped and I saw the clock, I was really surprised with how my body was tracking and how I was feeling. I felt like the ski erg was pretty casual. I kind of just took my time and got through it. The sled push surprised me. I ended up going and finishing the sled push in 3 minutes 18. I did 1 unbroken lap, and then kind of the next couple I broke it up. Sled pull and the sandbag lunges were the least prepared that I was going to the event. I didn't really get to practice the sled pull in how it would feel on the day, because at my gym we didn't really have the same equipment. We had a sled. I had to wrap around the TRX system, and I only had 2 meters of actual slack or so to pull, and it's definitely different to the really long elastic battle rope. And I think those ropes were quite new because they're very elastic, very stretchy, and I just had no idea how to really pull, and that technique, I never got to practice it. So I definitely lost a lot of efficiency there for sure. But it's a big learning for next time. Burpee broad jumps, they weren't as good as 80 meters of burpee broad jumps could have gone. They're quite a long station at the end of the day, but again, we got there. It was actually my longest station, so I probably underestimated how long it would take to do the 80 meters, but I'm just glad I survived. Then the fifth exercise was the row, and I think this is where I started noticing that perhaps my lower body was starting to fatigue. I pulled through the row, and then it was that run. So I can see my split here. That sixth run, the 6 kilometer, my quads started cramping. And that's when I thought, oh, you know what? This is not going to be easy. Got to finish it. I remember my mindset the entire time. My mindset was very determined, and it was just programmed to not quit. I knew I had to finish, but once the cramps started going, that's when it started to get a bit dicey. Finished the 2 laps of the course, and you can see I lost a minute of timing because I was cramping. I had to pause a minute before I could even start the farmer's carry, and that's when I knew things would get a bit hard. Managed to finish the farmer's carry unbroken, and I felt a little bit of relief in the quads. But that next run, that run 7, the 7th kilometer, my gosh, everything from my quads, glutes, hamstrings, calves, everything just started cramping at different times. And I shared these experiences with some of the other boys, and a lot of us had similar experiences with the cramping, but did not expect that to factor the muscle cramping as part of the things to deal with. I probably could have expected it beforehand, and I don't think there's much more, again, because we're only prepped for about 4 or 5 weeks. The lunges were always the one station that I was most concerned about, because I never practiced them in full. Like, the training regimen that I had programmed lunges of different kinds within it, like a deficit reverse lunge, but I didn't really get to practice the walking lunges, which I should have. And I kind of just went and assumed that I could pull it off. I knew already going into it, I was a little bit concerned about it, but once I hit that station and everything was in pain, everything was cramping, just standing up, it took me a minute or so to just get ready to go into the lunges. You know, you hear a lot about athletes pushing through things, and you hear about how it's all in the mind, and it's a mental game, and the mind can push farther and the body can't. And I think for the first time ever, I experienced that. That 7th station of sandbag lunges was absolutely make or break, because as part of the rules, you can't take the sandbag off your shoulders, because once and you get a penalty, but twice and it's disqualification. So you got to have this sandbag on your shoulders the whole time. I described it to everyone after the races. I just felt like a zombie, just all mental. My body had no right doing 100 meters of sandbag lunges at that point in the race, but it was just one step at a time. I just had to keep going, break when needed, but just keep going one leg at a time. And I learned a lot about how strong my mind can be when my body is absolutely done. You know, in training sessions, again, as an amateur athlete, you can just take a break or stop, but in the middle of a race that we've signed up for, and the goal is to finish, like to get to the finish line, that really, finally, I felt something that put me into that, and just see what the mind is capable of. Because, yeah, like I said, body was not ready. It was done. I survived it. I'm so proud of myself for getting through that. And, you know, the time on the 8th run is 10 minutes. I was like limping and cramping every couple steps, and people running past me all the time. I'm just like, this is the last run. I just have to finish this run. And then I went into the last station of wall balls and managed to get 100 wall balls up. And that was also mentally tough, but I gotta say, it was not nearly as tough as the lunges were. So big learnings for me. Today, a day later, I'm feeling a bit more recovered. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the event. I learned about what it's like to be in an environment where it's very, conducive to performing and being an athlete, and really just defining myself in those moments as, yeah, I am an athlete. Yes, it's my first time doing it, and I just wanted to get the experience. And again, I did not train nearly enough to do a solos, but I survived it. I made it. I feel like if I didn't experience the leg cramps, I probably could have got my time much closer to 1.5 hours, which was my goal. But I feel like the learning there is we just didn't prepare enough. So next time, and there definitely will be next time, we'll have much longer training blocks and make sure that our bodies are conditioned enough to not cramp, ideally. Definitely wanting to do it again. Definitely. I definitely encourage anyone who is curious about this sport, as it's just kind of coming on the scene now. There's a lot more interest around it. It's given me, as someone again who's trained for a lot of years and is kind of trying to find a new purpose for training, it's given me motivation. It was really great to do this with a group of people who were a group of guys who, you know, were in a group chat or helping each other, spurring each other on, sending each other our training clips and tips and progress, and it just felt really nice for this last 6 weeks or so to have that in my life. And we're continuing that, you know, even as we were finishing up our recovery session today, we're talking about the next thing we're going to do, and we're going to sign up for a half marathon in the middle of the year for the Sunshine Coast Half Marathon. And you know, if you told me a year ago I would be running, I would be like, are you serious? Because long distance running, I haven't done it for genuinely almost probably 16, 17 years. When I was 17, I did the couch to 5K and 5K to 10K. And I remember that there was a moment that I finally hit my first 10K run, and I actually just stopped after that. That was the last time that I had run a 10K for literally half my life, until a couple of weeks ago when I ran Zone 2 10K. And so I feel like the other learning for me is just enjoying the process of running distance again and building my baseline and my base capacity for running, to feel like it's something that I can integrate in my life, that I feel like, yes, I can go for these long distances, and it's something that I'm keen to explore. So the result of just signing up for HYROX just under 2 months ago is that now I plan to do much more running this year and make that a constant part of my life and training schedule. Really committing to this hybrid athlete kind of lifestyle. But ultimately, I finished. I have this badge here that says that I finished. I'll have these memories forever. This definitely is not the last HYROX that I'll do. I want to do it again, and I want to get better. It started a bit of a fire in me. I'm not a fitness influencer by any means. I'm not trying to become that. I'm just doing this as part of my continual development, as part of being an all-round, I guess, effective person. I want to be effective in all aspects of my life, and physical activity and health is part of that. Now, I'm a business owner. I do a lot of things to sharpen the axe with my mind, and this is one of the things that I'm doing now to sharpen the axe on my physical performance and capability. So it's taught me that I can do much more than my mind thought was possible. I would encourage you, if you're even remotely curious about what HYROX is and you think you could be interested in it, I would say look into it, but don't overlook into it. Just sign up if you feel like it's something for you, and let the action of signing up for it be the catalyst for you to then try and train towards it. Because again, I came at this with barely any training, and we got there. And I know that with much more intentional training, it'll get better. But the fact is, I did it, and I'm really happy about that. And so did all the other guys that I trained with. Thank you for watching this. I hope that you found this video interesting or valuable. Super keen for future HYROXs, and this definitely will not be my last.
Finished!
Yes!
Learned a lot. Finished, that's all that matters. Know what to do next time now.
What would you do next time?
Train for more than 5 weeks. Boys, we finished.
Well,
We did it.
We did it.
We lit it, we learned a lot. Cramped everything except this guy. Flippin' had a shirt off and just dominated.